Hi, welcome. In this video, I'd like to discuss the working dog aspect when it comes to achieving a desired result. Now, this video will be extremely helpful for those who are engaged in this type of training, whether it's a police dog aspect of training, task specific, such as tracking. You want the super duper tracking dog. Or even by way of some sport type of training by way of retrieval work. Because again, I get asked this question fairly often in terms of understanding how things tie together through the drive of the dog and what can get in the way of that achieving the result through the context of relationship through control. Okay, as dogs begin to gain control, as the relationship begins to go sideways, the motives of the dog begin to go sideways in the relationship, and the problem that's inherent with that. But not just that, okay, I want to talk about too this issue. This is where this learning-based narrative comes online here, when I talk a lot about this, and there's a real lack of understanding, even from working dog trainers who engage in certain interactions to achieve a result, but fail to really understand the depth of what's happening. And this is where, again, sometimes, and it can be very common, you'll see a lot of even police departments, wash dogs out and needlessly, okay, as a result of a relationship problem, okay, which really ties into a training issue within the context of the process itself. When you are dealing with issues in the relationship with dogs related to control motives, then when those don't clean up properly and you're engaged in a more formal training process to achieve a result, the dog will lack focus. Okay, may have extremely high drive, okay, but you know that something's off. Okay, this dog has incredible drive, but I don't have the focus. The dog is not, consistent in what the dog is doing in terms of that task-specific thing that you want the dog to do. And here's the problem, very deceptive, because at times you'll get the dog doing the sit and doing things that, within just the level of response will represent the dog you have meaningful influence at times. The dog is doing a sit so you can throw out whatever or do whatever. But again, the same rule applies, is that you have a major problem in the relationship by way of the type of influence that's established between dog and owner. But again, sorting through that or trying to sort that out becomes very problematic because of this issue of the inconsistency through response. And you're trying to sort through that, say what's going on. And then again, the dog gets shoved off. That dog can never achieve, the top level of whatever, because something's not right with the dog, genetically or whatever. Again, this is kind of the blame shifting. But again, but I want people to understand as I go through this whole mirroring type of thing, how these scenarios is understanding. You always have to bring it back to that original dog owner. The process itself has to be specific to fix the relationship at that core level, at the relationship level. Okay, understand that. This is where there's a lot of confusion out there, why, and it still goes on to this day, even in the police dog world, where trainers will look at a process and say, well, I don't want to engage in certain obedience type of interactions, in that type of formalized process, wherever the process, and again, we'll talk about the process needs to look like, but they'll shy away from it because they'll say, well, I don't want to suppress the drive of the dog. So the thinking is, I want to work off of a drive-based type of process, okay, and achieve a result through that process, through retrieval work, tracking. You'll launch right into it as a working dog trainer, and thinking that, okay, I want to engage the drives of the dog. I don't want to suppress them, okay, because again, you have this thinking about thing about the context of influence, okay, the role that obedience plays, the context of that, and you're fearful that somehow that's going to interfere in kind of tamping down the drive of the dog. And that is wrong thinking, okay? That's really goes to this issue of not understanding the process. But again, problems result, okay? Problems can result. I want to be very clear about this. When there's going to be relationship issues as a result of not understanding the sequencing of processes here. Okay, it's understanding what process has to mirror what's happening in the relationship at a particular time. Okay, but again, this draws right to this issue of the owner or the handler, and it's so critical right from the initial stage of when the dog is young, is making sure that the relationship is aligning, okay, through how the person's connecting, interacting with the dog, coming into right relationship, so that, and this is where, again, that naturalistic, alignment issue really comes online, because if you're thinking the right, correct way, you're interacting certain ways. And this is where even within the drive-based training, it could work just fine, right? And you have this incredible dog that, man, this is fantastic, and that can happen because of how these things align. So you can, you can kind of shy away from obedience the way you define it, and engage in this kind of drive-based training, and it works fine for you, okay? Because of how you're thinking and how you're interacting. Again, the overriding thing, understand the role the person plays is so critical in this process in terms of their thinking. But again, it's important when considering that is that you also have to go further than that and not just play off that. Because some people will say, well, Dale, what I do works fantastic, and but it's non-specific, okay? It's just like you have this way of training, this drive-based way, and you have incredible results, and I don't deny that, okay? But here's the problem in the dog training world as a whole, is that leaves openings, it leaves a tremendous gap by way of what's happening for so many dogs and owners or people who are trying to achieve a certain result, and because there's no kind of definitive understanding of the process to fix the relationship or get things back on track if they go sideways. And so how people deal with those things allow these dogs to take the hit or get washed out. Because you could have an incredible dog that has lots of potential, but because of the lack of insight into how these processes come together, you could end up, that dog is not going to meet its full potential, or the dog is just going to get washed out, and then you're going to go on to another dog and perhaps have the same type of result. Because again, it's understanding the role the person plays, okay? So again, now I'm going to do a couple videos on this, because again, these are important videos for people, because if you're engaged in a type of working dog framework, information is critical. It's going to empower you to be able to overcome whatever's happening, and perhaps not have to spend a lot of money, have to cycle through a dog that you just put a lot of time into, and on it goes. So again, just something to really think about. And beyond that, too, I'll mention right now is that if you need help with your dog, if you're a working dog person, or you're in the police side of things, and you want, I go down to help people that way, and offer seminars and get people, that insight and get you on track, okay? And be very, very helpful, okay? Because again, I provide the type of insight. You're not going to hear other trainers talking this way about how these processes fit, and the depth of understanding at the relational level, how these dynamics align, okay, to achieve a certain result. So I'm going to leave it here on this part one of this video. My next video, I'm going to actually get into the specifics here of the processes, the scenarios here of when you encounter certain situations and things appear a certain way, how it is why that's happening, okay, and what needs to happen to actually get things or build that bridge so that you can achieve the result that you want. So thanks for watching.